Welcome to the Hollywood CRA virtual community presentation for the Phase 4 undergrounding of overhead utilities and streetscape beautification from Harrison Street to Magnolia Terrace. The pilot project consisted of 6 streets which are located between Cleveland Street and Grant Street. These streets were completed in 2008 and were followed by Phase 2, which included the redevelopment of 12 streets from Minnesota Street to Tyler Street. These streets were completed in 2012. Phase 3 included the undergrounding of 15 blocks from New Mexico Street to Oklahoma Street, which is currently on the final stages of completion. In 2019 and earlier this year, Hollywood CRA organized open community meetings to discuss the redevelopments coming in Phase 4. This gave us the chance to meet with business and residential members of our community to address any issues or concerns they had. Due to the unforeseen circumstances of COVID-19, we have chosen to continue the discussion of our Phase 4 redevelopment project virtually. Phase 4 is in the conceptual development phase and needs community input before starting construction documentation. We encourage all community members to participate in this interactive presentation. We are actively planning to host meetings over the phone and online where we can address specific issues and listen to community members' concern about their individual properties or blocks as a whole. Phase 4 is currently in the conceptual design stages and construction is anticipated to start in the early part of 2022. Phase 4 East-West Street projects includes the undergrounding of overhead utilities and streetscape beautification, surf road improvements, and street end design for 18 streets from Harrison Street to Magnolia Terrace. 2 of these streets, Jasmine Terrace and Iris Terrace, have already been completed. As part of our redevelopment process, community members can expect to see various upgrades along their respective streets. Here are the improvements coming soon to all 18 streets included in this phase. In Phase 4, the soon-to-be renovated streets will be similar to the 33 streets that have been completed in our previous phases. The amount of public parking available on the street will be maximized while preserving as many existing parking spaces as possible. Newly constructed, safe, and accessible sidewalks will be built. Both roadways and sidewalks will be newly paved. We will strengthen the utility system by undergrounding unsightly overhead utilities that will also minimize disruptions during storm events. This will be made possible by the installation of utility transformers strategically located on landscaped islands. New native landscaped islands will be implemented on all streets, providing shade for pedestrians and contributing to the beautification of all roadways. Moving forward, we will be utilizing a new type of marine turtle-friendly lighting as seen on the previously completed streetscape phases. Drainage upgrades and system improvements on the east-west streets will be made in coordination with the Florida Department of Transportation. And finally, we will be enhancing the street end conditions to preserve parking spaces while updating the pavement and landscaping. These new street end conditions will act as public plazas and will create a seamless transition from the street end into the Hollywood Broadwalk. Existing streets are characterized by unsightly overhead utility lines which are susceptible to being downed in the event of a bad storm. A lack of organized landscape as well as old and cracked sidewalks along the street will be addressed in the upcoming redevelopment project. Lastly, public parking spaces will be updated to ensure issues of encroachment into the roadways no longer occur. In our proposal, all of the previously overhead utilities have now been placed overground. Both sidewalks and roads are newly constructed and have been upgraded with new paving. The utilization of marine turtle-friendly lighting has been applied throughout the street, We've also maximized the availability of public parking along the street and have preserved as many existing parking spaces as possible. A new landscape has been incorporated onto the blocks as much as possible. The photo currently on the screen demonstrates a street completed in Phase 3 and is meant to illustrate the upcoming changes in Phase 4. In addition to these changes, the street end plazas will be upgraded to have paved mosaic artwork on the ground and will seamlessly incorporate brand new landscaping. Over the past year, we've met with the community who have expressed the desire to maintain the existing single-lane two-way traffic configuration along their streets. Since then, we've been working with Broward County as well as traffic engineering consultants on the approval of maintaining this street configuration on all streets included in Phase 4. Two-way traffic is desirable because it improves circulation during flooding, provides pedestrian safety due to slower traffic circulation, and limits traffic on surf roads, among other benefits. The only difference between what you have there today and what is being proposed would be the incorporation of dedicated yield spaces. Currently, there are natural yield spaces along the street. Examples of natural yield spaces are driveways or entrances into private property. These areas allow cars, including emergency vehicles, to pull off to the side and allow others to pass. However, we understand that not all streets have the frequency of natural yield spaces necessary to fit Broward County standards. And to address this issue, we will be implementing dedicated yield spaces throughout those streets. Dedicated yield spaces, as shown in the diagram on the right, will be clearly marked on the ground and will allow vehicles to yield to oncoming traffic. Please note that parking on these dedicated yield spaces will not be permitted. It is anticipated that no more than 3 dedicated yield spaces will be needed along the project corridor. The city's drainage system is interconnected with Florida Department of Transportation drainage and intracoastal outflows. The CRA is working with the Department of Transportation and the City of Hollywood Public Utilities to lessen the existing conditions. In this particular phase, we are planning on maximizing and maintaining as much public parking on the street ends as possible, and when appropriate, providing public street end plazas. Currently, the street end conditions do not offer a smooth transition onto the historic Hollywood Broadwalk. With the lack of landscape on the site and overhead utility lines populating the sky, the street end does not act as an inviting public space. In the proposed street end plazas, we will incorporate brand new street paving, bike racks, solar-powered bollards, landscape, and underground utilities, all while maximizing the amount of public parking available on those streets. To give you a better idea of what to expect on each street end, we've prepared a series of drawings to explain the 4 scenarios expected to take place in Phase 4. Some street ends have adjacency conditions where there are driveways or private parking on site. Streets with these adjacency conditions will be designed to maintain access to these driveways and parking spaces while providing a plaza for the public. Scenario A1 demonstrates a street end with no adjacent conditions. This allows us to provide a maximum of 5 parking spaces. This street end condition will not have a public plaza. Scenario A2 includes streets with minimal adjacency conditions. We expect to provide 3 to 5 public spaces on these street ends as well as a public plaza. Scenario A3 includes streets with several adjacency conditions, such as entrances into driveways and private parking already on the street end. The amount of public parking, therefore, will vary. However, just like the previous scenarios, these street ends will also incorporate a public plaza. And Scenario B, our final scenario, includes streets that have direct access onto the beach via a dune crossover. These dune crossovers will be upgraded to include brand new paving, seating, and landscape. Here are some of the before and after photos of existing streets from Phase 3 which have been redeveloped to incorporate the changes previously noted. New Hampshire Street before and after improvements. New Mexico Street before and after improvements. The next segment of the presentation illustrates each customized street based on existing conditions.